Okay, this is nice.
Can you read it out loud? Sure. It says, Dear Liam, happy 8th birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your young life, and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Sincerely. Can you tell me who signed that? He knew it was your birthday coming up. What do you say to him?
Thank you. I love you.
What else do you say?
God bless Donald Trump.
Verbal or life.
Trump is now 0 for 2. The man is standing strong. What are they going to do next? They can't do nothing to this man. But with the recent shooting attempt, things are looking crazy. Welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel. Battling MS, still walking and talking. I made it to my basement. And I wanted to talk about this. In the video, let's take a look at Jesse Waters and what he got to say about this. Because he does some great reporting. Let's take a look.
Waters Primetime tonight.
Driver, take 2 steps to your right. Hold straight back. Keep that low.
Another Trump assassination attempt.
Is this guy part of a conspiracy?
He reportedly spent months in Ukraine trying to join the fight against Russia.
We need everybody from around the globe to stop what they're doing and come here now and support the Ukrainians.
The Trump assassin's overseas ties. What does that tell us?
How does he get around without a career or money? Like, does he have like inherited money? It's crazy. Or is somebody paying him behind the closed doors and we don't know about it?
This is the most important thing going on in the world today.
I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked. But if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this?
The Democrats and the media losing control.
All of the noise that you hear afterward, did the moderators win or lose? That's just noise.
Plus,
If anybody calls it mozzarella, get the out of here.
Fox News alert. Nothing will slow me down. I will never surrender. That's how Trump reacted Sunday after an armed assassin was chased off the 6th hole of his West Palm Beach golf club. Tonight, the one summer. Even the officer who arrested the assassin's asking questions.
What we're finding out, he's not from this area, which of course raises the bigger question is, how does a guy from not here get all the way to Trump International, realize that the president, former president of the United States, is golfing and is able to get a rifle in that vicinity? I think that's the question the FBI, the Secret Service are laser focused.
That's crazy, man. And these are some good questions for people to have. This is where conspiracy theories come from. You know, us just having these questions about how was this even possible? The man had a gun and a scope. So we are lucky that he didn't try to take a shot, because with that scope and that gun, it was possible, man. We're living in some crazy times, but let's find out.
Focused on today, is this guy part of a conspiracy? Is he a lone gunman? If he's a lone gunman, President Trump is that much safer because we have him. But if he's part of a conspiracy, then this whole thing really takes on a very ominous tone.
Yeah.
Trump's golf game was a last-minute decision. So how did a random out-of-towner know Trump was at that course that afternoon? There's only 3 possible answers. The former assistant director at the FBI says he guessed and got very lucky. He conducted surveillance on Trump and followed him to the golf course. Or he had inside information about Trump's schedule.
Also, there's a 4th one that I'm thinking about. The fact that he says this is golf course, eventually going to come here. So he just staked out there. Like, he's in the bushes. Nobody can see me. So I want to be here for as long as I have to. Because that particular night, he was there at 1 a.m. on that particular day. And he just stayed there all the way till Trump showed up. So that's another possibility that he just says eventually he's going to come through here and I'm just going to sit here. Crazy.
The last answer is scary and has implications that another person was involved. The Secret Service and FBI are actively investigating whether Ruth was part of the conspiracy.
Is there any evidence to suggest that the suspect knew that Donald Trump was going to be on that golf course at that time?
Based on what I know now, and it's an active investigation, I don't have any information on that.
Did he act alone? Did he have some kind of help?
At this point, we're still exploring that, investigating that. Our investigation will determine that. We do not have information that he's been acting with anyone else at present.
The FBI says 58-year-old Ryan Ruth is a roofer who maintains residencies in North Carolina and Hawaii. This individual was staked out by the fence line of the golf course for over 12 hours, waiting to take a shot. He had a scoped SKS rifle with a shaved-off serial number, 2 backpacks, and 2 cameras. The guy was ready for action. But where did he get the gun from? Ruth's caught more than 100 criminal charges just in North Carolina alone, including charges of possession of weapons of mass destruction, possession of a fully automatic machine gun, hit and runs, drug charges, bad checks, stolen cars.
How can that guy not be in jail after all of that? That's insane. How do you get out of jail after committing all of that?
Years back, there was even a 3-hour armed standoff between Ruth and law enforcement. The FBI had Ruth on its radar.
He was the subject of a previously closed 2019 tip to the FBI where it was alleged he was a felon in possession of a firearm.
So the gun was probably stolen since a background check would have flagged the sale and the serial number was scratched off. And the car he was pulled over in had stolen plates. How is a roofer from out of state with $300 in his checking account and no assets to his name operating like a seasoned pro? When Secret Service agents swept the perimeter of the course, they noticed Ruth's sniper nest and they opened fire. Ruth wasn't hit and fled the scene and hopped in his knee.
Driver, take 2 steps to your right. Take 2 steps to your right. Driver.
At this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course surrounded. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
Luckily, agents saw the barrel of Ruth's rifle peeking through the foliage against the chain link fence before Trump got to 6. But the Secret Service didn't even sweep the course before Trump teed off. They had a team 1 hole ahead of him and another agent sweeping the perimeter during the round. The Secret Service director patted himself on the back.
Yesterday was an off-the-record movement, off the record. And the president wasn't even really supposed to go there. It was not on his official schedule. And so we put together a security plan, and that security plan worked.
It worked because Trump's still alive, but it failed because it was too close for comfort. It's just odd that this was a last-minute decision to play golf, and the assassin was already at the course since 2 a.m. And then an agent fired rounds at him, and he escapes into a different county, only captured because a sharp citizen happened to nab pics of his plate. This is the second time in 2 months where Trump almost died because of an unsecured perimeter. The Biden-Harris administration, they're in charge of protecting that perimeter, and they've failed twice. Biden still doesn't seem angry about it and hasn't fired a soul.
Do you have any more information on the assassination attempt?
I think thank God the president's okay. I think we got a full report so far. We're down there tonight. But one thing I want to make clear, the service needs more help. And I think the Congress should respond to their needs if they in fact need more services. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Biden's Secret Service almost got Trump killed twice, but the man's blaming Congress. Since when does Biden not have enough money? He spends trillions of dollars like it's nothing and spends it on nonsense. And when they need more money, they just print it. Is the Secret Service penny pinching to protect Trump's life? They seem to be able to protect Biden fine when he's passed out on a public beach for 4 hours. Kamala Harris is riding around in rural Georgia in a bus painted Kamala for president. She's protected. Secret Service protected Barack Obama for 8 years and then 8 years after. He golfed almost every weekend. No one took a shot at Barack at his rallies either. He was swimming in the Pacific. Secret Service had no problems. Bush was riding his bike all over Texas. No attempts on his life. Bill Clinton jogged through Washington, the murder capital of the world. Nothing ever happened. Secret Service can protect presidents. They just can't protect this president. And the question is, why? Biden doesn't need Congress. He can give Trump more agents with the stroke of his pen. He already did it after Butler. Do it again, just double it. Biden's not even campaigning. He's been on vacation. They're even saying it's going to be hard to charge Ruth with much now.
Because the former president was so far away, 300 to 500 yards away on a different hole, I think it's going to be tough to charge him with a crime against Trump. Much easier to charge him with a crime against a Secret Service agent who apparently saw the rifle pointed at him. That's the key witness here, and that would be perhaps the most serious charge.
That would be funny if they dropped the charges saying that he wasn't technically pointing at Trump, but yet if Trump commits a crime, and they throw everything at the man.
These guys make up charges to file against Trump, charges we've never heard of, charges that have never been filed in American legal history. But now they're like, I don't really know if we have much on this guy. This is a Democrat donor who just voted in the Democrat primary and has a Biden-Harris bumper sticker on his car. He's all over social media saying Trump's a threat to democracy, and he spent time in Ukraine recruiting foreign fighters. More on that later. Donald Trump lays this squarely at the feet of the Democrats. He believed the rhetoric of Biden and Harris, and he acted on it. Their rhetoric is causing me to be shot at when I am the one who's going to save the country, and they are the ones who are destroying the country, both from the inside and out. Brian Ruth and Matthew Crooks were radicalized, and now every other wannabe assassin all over the world sees how easy this is and how close you can get. Donald Trump, if he loses, faces life behind bars. If he wins, faces more killers gunning for his life. The only choice he can make now is to fight, fight, fight. Joining me now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So this happened here in your state. What are you going to do about it, Governor?
Well, the state of Florida is going to do our own investment. What his motivations were, the people of our state deserve that. I don't think it's in the best interest of this country to say that agencies like the FBI and DOJ, which are trying to prosecute Trump in South Florida, they're on appeal at the 11th Circuit trying to reinstate an indictment that had been dismissed, that they're the best people to turn around and, one, give us the truth about this defendant, but also to prosecute the case where they don't have as strong of jurisdictional claims. And so we are going to be doing our investigation. I'm going to have more to say on that very shortly about what precisely we're going to do. But I would note, Jesse, I've played golf with the president when he was in office at that course. It's a great golf course. That part of the property, the 5th green, the 6th hole, and then the 7th tee, that is right there up against the fence line. So the fence line is covered with shrubbery. So if you were just walking by, you couldn't really see inside. But that is clearly the biggest point of vulnerability on that course, because if you're burrowed into those shrubs, you have a pretty clear line of sight on a number of golf holes. And so when I heard that this had happened, there were kind of conflicting reports. Maybe 2 people were shooting at each other. They said, no, this was meant for President Trump. I immediately knew exactly what part of the course it would have been in. So how did this guy get in there? How was he able to burrow in? And yeah, we're thankful that the Secret Service agent, when he saw the muzzle of the gun, fired and caused the defendant to leave. But that guy was burrowed in there, it seems like, for the rest of the night. How did that happen?
Right. Thank God for that agent. Thank God for that agent. But that course should have been swept before, and that vulnerability should have been neutralized. When you hear the Democrats talk about this, I don't personally feel that much sorrow or that much sympathy or even regret that this happened twice, Governor. How do you understand that?
I think what I saw a lot of Democrats attacking Trump today. Really didn't even give this much of a thought. They're just all out with the rhetoric all over again. And look, we'll see what this guy consumed. It seems like he was a consumer of a lot of these corporate media narratives that the Democrats propagate. We'll see. I think that's what the investigation can show. But I will say this, there's a lot of people in our society who may have a screw loose. And if you're constantly telling them that American democracy is going to end if this guy gets elected president, well, somebody is going to feel that they're justified for doing this. And so I do think the apocalyptic rhetoric has increased the threats to Donald Trump. No question about it.
Yep, because
the deep state is doing everything possible to make sure that Trump doesn't go back to the White House. The administrative state, which is another word for the deep state, really.
Everybody wants to be a hero if you tee it up like that. Well, Governor, thank God you're investigating, and please share whatever you learn from your state's investigation. That's really important we get to the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. What do you think happened here, Stuart?
Well, Jesse, let me take you back. If you recall, after July 13th, I told you that the administration, the current administration, gave the Secret Service plausible deniability, almost like a stand-down order, to give Donald J. Trump minimal coverage. Everybody said that was crazy. Everybody said our government is not that corrupt. I said at the top, they are corrupt. The men and women on the ground, they're good people. They risk their lives. If you recall, the then director, Cheadle, came before Congress, gave every nonsensical excuse. He had all the assets. He had all the tools. We were well prepared. It's just an unfortunate scenario. Today, Jesse, the curtain came down with the acting director, Rowe. What did he say? The assets as directed by President Biden.
Picked up on that because I didn't pick up on that. And we're going to go look at that again and rewatch that, because if that's true, he should have no fingerprints on that level of detail and resource with regards to protecting his rival.
The increased assets as directed by President Biden were in place yesterday, quote unquote.
Wow. All right. Stuart Kaplan, thank you as always. We really appreciate it. So how did a failed builder come this close to assassinating the former president? Ryan Ruth has a rap sheet pages long. Over the last few decades, he was charged with stolen vehicles, drug charges, possessing weapons of mass destruction. His old neighbors in North Carolina say Ruth was strapped and people were scared.
I've seen the guns myself and all, but yeah, they had a lot of guns over there and stuff and all, like I said, and a lot of people were afraid of him.
Ruth didn't really have a steady job, eventually moving to Hawaii in his 50s. And when war broke out in Ukraine, he flew there to join the fight.
My initial goal was to come and fight. I think, everybody around the globe should be motivated to come here and support the Ukrainians and support the army, no matter what gender, age.
My man got blue hair. And what the hell are you talking about, fighting on the other side of the world? Our country that you just hear on the reports or you hear in the news, but you don't directly know. That's just crazy talk.
Anything, everybody should be here supporting the army, but I'm 56, so initially they were like, well, I have no military experience, so they're like, you're not an ideal candidate. So they said, not right this minute. So plan B was to come here to Kyiv and promote getting more people here. We need thousands and thousands and thousands of people here fighting with the Ukrainians.
Suicide.
Here he is in front of the U.S. Capitol. Watch.
Over 100 soldiers every day, and pretty much everybody, all of my contacts in Ukraine, they were adamant, pretty much yelled at me every time that I suggested that we bring in Afghans.
People on the ground in Ukraine say Ruth was not fighting material. He was a rabble rouser. He spent months luring Afghan mercenaries to Ukraine by way of Iran, but the fighters would get stranded in Iran over paperwork. He was even on the New York Times radar.
He was very driven to help Ukraine, even though some of his ideas were completely nonsensical. I mean, he kind of spoke with the self-assuredness that he was going to get from A to B and nothing was going to get in the way, even though his plans were already running into major obstacles.
Ruth even wrote a book about his time in Ukraine. In it, he says he regretted voting for Trump in 2016 and called on Iran to kill them both. Quote, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and the dismantling of the deal." He's talking about the Iran deal. Ruth praised John Kerry, praised Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and recited the same Democrat slogans about Trump being a threat to democracy and needing to be stopped. So a convicted felon with no monies flying from Hawaii into Ukraine, talking to NGOs and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, is in touch with Afghan soldiers for hire. And the U.S. government didn't flag that. And American citizens recruiting foreign fighters to fight in a war zone, to fight the Russians. And the New York Times is running profiles on them. An intelligence officer in Ukraine flagged Ruth to the State Department, saying he was freelancing and out of control. So now we know the FBI and the U.S. State Department, and likely the CIA, was aware of Ruth. American intelligence knows exactly which Americans come in and out of Ukraine and which ones talk to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And then the convicted felon with weapons of mass destruction charges flies back from Ukraine to our capital and lobbies Washington. Congressman Mike Walz joins me now. What do you make about this travel to Ukraine?
Well, clearly, Jesse, the guy was completely unhinged. And if you layer on top of that, this constant narrative from the left that Trump wants to sell Ukraine out to the dictator Putin, he wants to become a dictator himself, and that no matter what, by any means necessary, Trump has to be stopped. Not only was he radicalized and, essentially begged Iran to assassinate Trump, and both of them, but he also, in that same book, said nobody has the balls to do it. Well, clearly he took it upon himself. And if you add that to Crooks, my point is, why is the FBI being so quiet about the motives? The Secret Service, to their credit, messed a lot of things up in Butler, but they've been forthcoming and they've tried to correct some things. Clearly, they corrected some of it with this successful takedown. But the FBI is still giving us the don't ask questions, under investigation. And we know so little about both of these men. What we do know is that the service has to change its threat model and how it protects people.
Officers, he's dealing with Afghans, possibly Iranians, and now he's back. And no one looks at this guy, a convicted felon? That's crazy. That's crazy, well, and it's super suspicious.
It's nuts.
Real quick.
It absolutely is. And then also, I've been talking to veterans and others today that were on chat rooms. They kicked him off and reported him to the FBI as he's trying to recruit mercenaries and others to go to Ukraine. So the alarm bells were ringing off the hook here.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And
it's all about the narrative. That's it. You got to control the narrative because you got to control the story that goes out to the people. So therefore, the FBI makes everybody wait. They're horrible.
Suspicious. Thank you so much, Congressman Walz. Years, Democrats have been calling Trump an existential threat to the country.
Right now, I feel like MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically. And we see it time and time again. Domestic terrorism is a real thing, and he is the guy that stokes it.
Let's not pretend that Donald Trump isn't exactly like Mussolini, exactly like Hitler. He is that guy.
Donald Trump cannot be president again.
He said Mussolini. Like the guy was already president. What are you talking about?
He's an existential threat to democracy.
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
This MAGA threat is a threat to the brick and mortar of our democratic institutions.
The former president is a threat to our most fundamental freedoms. He has openly said he will be a dictator on day one.
Joe and Kamala have repeatedly said democracy's on the ballot, and when Kamala talks, was Ryan Ruth listening? He tweeted that exact phrase earlier this year. But the media says Joe and Kamala bear no responsibility for his actions.
There's absolutely, again, no basis in fact that they were behind this at all. We don't know much about this guy yet at all, other than he was somebody who was trying to find a way in his mid to late 50s go and serve on the front lines of Ukraine. And he obviously had some anti-Trump posts, but that's has nothing to do with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
She can barely make the case. Don't you see, Joe and Kamala's hands are bouncing.
The Trump campaign is seizing on this apparent assassination attempt as a way to rile up.
He said apparent assassination attempt. Really, the left-wing media is on another level.
His base.
Did the left forget Trump almost got killed? He's the victim? And a former FBI agent made sure to tell CNN that. Listen.
And sadly, the finger pointing at Trump has led to, the line about the bloodbath, talking about the auto industry. And that sadly has led to, I think, these attempts on Trump's life. I would
victim blaming. It's all Trump's fault.
I think we're going to find that this guy's extremely politically motivated and that he probably was spurred on by much of the political diatribes that are going on these days, talking about Trump, equating him to Hitler and things like that. So I don't think this is the last we'll see of crazies out there trying to do this.
So Democrat talking points may have gotten Trump killed almost twice, but he's the one who needs to tone down the language.
But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town.
And all the threats, 33 of them, were hoax. None of them were real. The governor already came out and said it, that all the threats were fake. And so look at what they're reporting, fake news. They don't come back on the news and said, hey, the last thing we said was fake. But no, they just keep piling it on like it's all Trump's fault.
Well, the bomb threats came from overseas. So there that is. The media is already trying to turn the page. Trump got shot and they're worried about the Haitians in Springfield. Not the Americans in Springfield, just the Haitians. In their eyes, cat memes are worse than real-life assassinations. The media is blaming the victim, plain and simple. They want Trump to stop talking about immigration, stop doing outdoor rallies. And you know what? He should never golf again.
Will Donald Trump, if encouraged by the Secret Service to stop golfing or to change golf courses or do something, that's far more protected, will he abide by that? I think in these remaining weeks, I would take the advice of security professionals.
So they want Trump to go into hiding all the way to November 5th? Like, don't show your face? That just sounds like election interference. It's crazy. That man is brave, though. He's a retired old man who does whatever he wants.
The Washington Post says this is actually Trump's fault. The Secret Service knew about the gap in the brush line near the 6th hole for years. They say Trump insisted on golfing anyway. If they knew it was a problem, why didn't they have an agent posted there? Or demand the course fix it? They would have just billed the taxpayer, no problem. Some even made light of the assassination attempt. The wife of former impeachment witness, Ms. Vindman, posted this: no ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon. And the Cincinnati Enquirer published this: there is no place in politics for violence. That said, the former president, Donald Trump, brings a lot of this stuff on himself. He brings the crazies out. And one of those crazies tried to shoot him. Florida Congressman and former U.S. Army sniper Corey Mills joins us now. Congressman, there's a lot of propaganda in play right now. It's very defensive. What does that tell you?
Well, I was a counter sniper with the State Department, just to make the quick correction, but I am a U.S. Army combat veteran as well, the proud 82nd. But look, the bottom line is, Jesse, why don't we go back to what Joe Biden said, where he said we need to put Trump back in the bullseye? Why don't we go to Kamala Harris, who is actually part of the Minnesota Bail Fund, who is encouraging the incitement of continual violations and criminality in Minnesota? Oh, just happens to be where Waltz is from. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for what it is. We should have had a bigger perimeter by the Secret Service. This is two failures where the perimeter in the bubble was too small and too reduced. You've got a rifle which can shoot out well beyond 500 yards, and the president was within that 500-yard barrier. You had 150 yards from Thomas Crooks on July 13th in Butler, PA. While I applaud the Secret Service for getting involved and trying to mitigate this threat, like Mike Waltz was just saying, the threat should basically amount to the resources and assets available, not the title you carry. There is arguably no one more threatened than President Trump, who's now had 2 assassination attempts against him. So why is the Secret Service denying the resources and assets when we know that they have billions and billions of dollars that we appropriate through Congress, and they're doing nothing with it? I encourage the president to get private security, who is special operations guys out of the unit, out of SEAL Team 6, and out of other soft units to be able to do this on the internal ring until the Secret Service can actually get answers and do the job. But the rhetoric, that's coming from the left, and they're the ones that need to tone it down.
I wonder if you could do that. Can the president get private Secret Service? That's insane. So I have them working with the Secret Service the government gives him. So you have 2 teams, right? The private one and the secret one. So that's a little insane, you know?
Do you believe the left's accountable for this, for the last 2? I mean, both Democrat donors, both radicalized. One guy was overseas. One guy was using encrypted communications overseas. What do you think?
Well, Jesse, if they can claim on the left that President Trump go home peacefully to incite January 6th, then why is their rhetoric not enough to incite J13 or even what just happened on the golf course? And the idea that he should just stop golfing, well, how did the people know when he was going to be golfing to begin with? That's the question I'd like to know from the FBI, from the Secret Service, from others. How did they know that he was on the golf course at that time on that day? Who is actually leaking information? And if so, we need to basically get that accountability. But here's the thing. If it wasn't for you, Jesse, and it wasn't for others who are actually covering this, they wouldn't have even touched this on the mainstream media. They'd already forgotten about J13 and had moved on to the cats and dogs meme. We have to get answers, or this is going to continue to happen. And that's the problem here.
Well, we're glad that DeSantis's people are in on it, and they're not going to whitewash it. Hopefully we get some answers.
The governor's doing a great job.
All right. Corey Mills, thanks as always. Congressman Mills and I are actually both featured in Fox Nation's newest special, The Attempted Assassinations of Donald Trump. It's available tomorrow.
So Trump is 0 for 2 now. All right. 2 assassination attempts, 2 failed. The guy is winning. And now we need him to win the election. That's the next step. That's the bigger step. Let me try to fix my camera here. So many things happening today. So that news came out, and then right on top of that today, that was yesterday. Today, talking about locking up P. Diddy. That's the next big thing. But I don't think they're going to lock him up. They just brought him in because they always say that in New York, you could indict a ham sandwich. They didn't indict everybody. Have everybody come in and go through court. That's exactly what they did to Trump. They indicted him. But then when he went through the case, because it was biased, he ended up losing the case. So the same thing is going to happen with Diddy. And I think Diddy, probably got this on lock and not going to be found guilty. My prediction. Let's see if it happens. All right, now there's something wrong with the Wi-Fi here. I'm going to look back at this video, see if it worked out. But that was Jesse Primetime. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, remember to give this video a thumbs up. So like that, we could spread the word and get this out to more and more people. With that said, see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Verbal or life.